Hi, I'm Michael Clay Thompson, and let's talk about Poodle the chicken. I did not originally write the Poodle series as an introductory level of the MCT curriculum, though in a way that is what it has become. I did think of it as a fun way to give little children a foundation for the ideas that they would later absorb from the island and town levels of the MCT curriculum. But I did not think of Poodle as a textbook, even if it was organized around concepts of grammar and poetry. I saw it as a book. Though it is not a full curriculum, it is a foundation. I do want it to be a foundation, giving the island and town children some place to stand when they begin those explorations. Poodle is based on the deepest truth in intellectual life. The key to being educated is to read. Just read. Put those pencils away and read. Let it be a book, not a class assignment. Reading is the most central experience, the essential behavior that is fundamental to the educated mind. Reading by yourself is the most educational thing you can do. It is the most powerful thing you can do. By reading, I literally mean viewing words on a page. Educated language is powerfully visual, not audible. It is essential for children to grow up looking at words, looking at how they are spelled, looking at punctuation, looking at paragraphs and how paragraphs sort ideas. Reading gives little children an understanding of the sculpture of each word, of how one word uses an F and another word uses PH for the same sound. Children must see language. When a child has grown up with alternatives to reading, with assignments that allow the child to avoid reading, the damage is obvious. The child will think that the sentence says, "I could have been a contender." But every child who reads knows from the beginning that it is could have, not could have. In spite of this, our educational systems are filled with alternatives to reading, including audio tapes, videos, film strips, and classroom games. One consequence of this principle is that having an adult read a book to a child is not an equal experience, not the same as the child holding the book and reading it. Having said this, I will add that the Poodle books do come with an instructor book that provides notes and examples to illuminate the language of the Poodle story. This will allow the teacher or parent to read along and to show the child some of the cool secrets that are embedded in the language of Poodle's story. That, then, is the most important feature of the Poodle books. They are books to read, books for the child to curl up and read. I recommend a window with a pillow and some cookies, though in a classroom setting, I've supervised many wonderful classes where the students were sitting at their desks, reading quietly and happily. Later, it would be fun for the child and adult to go back through the chapter together and discuss the cool details that are provided in the instructor book. But the child's private time reading the book must not be avoided. That is the most important experience. Each child must read the written language. The language must come in through the child's eyes. It does no good for the adult to become more educated. The last thing I want is for the Poodle story to be degraded into some kind of worksheet I want it to be a reading experience, taking place in the mind of the student, with the student doing the reading. Now, let us look at some of the other elements in the Poodle books. One is content focus. You will see that each of the Poodle books has a specific classical body of knowledge in sharp focus. One of the hallmarks of my curriculum as a whole is that the knowledge we study is all timeless, all relevant over the centuries, and built to last for the student's lifetime. The elements of grammar, the fundamentals of poetry, the vocabulary that pervades great literature, the Latin and Greek foundation of English, these things do not go out of date. They do not have a shelf life. When you bring them into your mind, you are stronger for good. And that is one of the hallmarks of the educated mind. The readers of the Poodle story may be little children, but they are the educated version. And part of the dream of the story is that when the children finish it, they know more real knowledge than they did before. No paragraph in this story is wasted. Let me talk about four-level analysis. The flagship grammar method of the MCT curriculum, which is introduced in the Poodle series, is my four-level analysis. It is a way to reveal the simple lines of grammar, introducing the method via Poodle to the students in the Island and Town course. Four-level analysis begins with a line for the 8 parts of speech, followed by a line for the parts of sentence, followed by a line for phrases, and finally a line for clauses. In the Poodle series, we do not include that 4th line for clauses. We introduce the phrase line in the 4th book. As the children see one analysis after another of each sentence, they begin to see visually how simple grammar actually is. And I don't need to show you examples. The books themselves are full of these examples where you see each level with its own analysis. Let me say a word about enthusiasm. A second element of the Poodle stories is enthusiasm. The joy of learning is a component of all intellectual success. And yet the school experience for many children is earnest, strict, imperative, over-organized, over-assessed, and burdened with repeated assertions of failure. It can become harsh and puritanical. Assessment, in particular, has become a cult in our educational system. Think for a moment what it means for a child to be graded. Is there a B grade child? Is there a C child? Is it really necessary for an adult to weigh in every day on every assignment and inspect and reduce the quality of a student's learning to numbers or letters? Though there are some review questions in the Poodle instructor book, I've not included any tests or assessments. I want the experience to be entirely a fun learning experience with no external judgment of a child brought to bear. Just let the child read. Let it be fun. Let the child explore. A great component of great comprehension is great enthusiasm. Notice that all Nobel Prize winners love their fields. They love their knowledge areas. They are enthusiastic, incited, and devoted to finding out the next details. You cannot reach those top levels of intellectual success if you feel knowledge as a chore, as a task, as a requirement, as something on which you will be judged. You cannot be forced to greatness. Enthusiasm is an indispensable element of high intellectual achievement, and it begins at the Poodle level. For this reason, enthusiasm is a constant attitude that streams through the books, bringing its light to each chapter. This explains the obvious silliness of much of the story. If you want to shatter the too serious burden of school bugaboo, be silly. Silliness is a gate leading to fun, which leads to higher comprehension. You will notice that each Poodle book has a powerful and important body of knowledge in its scope. Parts of speech, parts of sentence, poetics, prepositional phrases, and the presence of these knowledge elements should not make the books more serious. It should make them more exciting. This should be an enthusiasm-safe place where the coolest kids can learn the coolest stuff. A word about the interplay of creative realities. A signal element of the Poodle series is the shifting plane of realities that the characters must navigate. What exactly is happening? Is this a picture story? Is it a kind of novel? Is it a play? Is it a poem? Is it all of those? Is one plane of reality more real than the others? Who is creating the story really? Is it maybe the director who runs the play? Is it the author who transcends the imaginative barrier between the characters and the writing? Does Poodle make his own decisions? There appears to be a poet involved, and the language is loaded with rhymes and alliteration and assonance and metrical devices, but no poet is ever mentioned. What kind of book is it when characters can jump from page to page and disagree with the author? Who is the real author? Is it Michael Clay Thompson, or is the author of the book a character too? Don't ask me. Some muse was directing my keyboard. If a plane of reality is creative, such as the world of a play, is it less real? Or is that created world real in its own way? What we want is an open-ended Socratic discussion about the creative act and the creative mind. Children are so ready for such a discussion. What not to do is to crown a winner, to prejudge an answer, to let one student be the one who is right and another the one who is wrong. Let the exploration be open, remain open. Let everyone contribute. Let it be thoughtful and intellectual. Appreciate all ideas. Avoid the pernicious school idea that there's always a right answer. There is not always a right answer. And open-mindedness, permanent open-mindedness, runs through the Poodle books like a cool wind. You will see that each page of the Poodle book has a square code that can be read by your smartphone, allowing both you and the children to hear me read the page. The children can hear me read the entire book if they want to. This is entirely optional, but if it is fun to hear part or all of it, that is welcome. A word about the art of the story. One essential element of the Poodle books is the brilliant art by Chris Tice. On page after page, Chris has brought the story to full value. Like, but better than, I could have imagined. It doesn't take me to tell you this. Chris's artistic brilliance is obvious on every page. He is utterly in sync with the story and has the talent to make it visual. Part of that involves the importance of art itself. I want the story to be an art location. Art matters. The art of the paintings resonates with the art in the poetry and the art of the plot. It is all in tune. We are lucky to have the books illustrated by Chris Tice. The artistic mind accomplishes something in the intellect that the acquisition of cognitive knowledge cannot. It lights up the entire endeavor. A word about vocabulary. The educational systems of the United States are often the captive of the age-graded vocabulary idea, with the insidious concept of student readiness chaining students back. Students, it assumes, are not yet ready for a certain group of words. Those we say are fourth grade words. Well, they are not. There is no such thing as fourth grade words. There is no reason to wait or hold students back from learning words they like. Any parent can tell you that kindergartners know the names of the dinosaurs, and any child who knows Tyrannosaurus Rex is ready to know the adjective serene and that it means calm. I aggressively include literary words and advanced words in these books for little children. Withholding vocabulary from children until they are ready is a failing strategy. Words are fun now, and Poodle knows it. A word about lesson plans. It is impossible to create lesson plans for this story. I know that, those of us who want to present the story in a teaching context, whether we're parents or teachers, we want to do that. We want to divide it up and read this many pages a day or, some such thing. That's not how this book works. What about lesson plans for the Poodle books? Think of it this way. If you bought a book at a bookstore and you were looking forward to reading your book, would you start by writing out your lesson plans? Well, before I read this book, let me write my lesson plans. Would you do that? No. You would just read the book. There are no lesson plans for readers, real readers. Lesson plans are not for readers. They are for teachers. The Poodle books should not be degraded to tasks on a schedule. Just read at the student's own chosen pace and talk about the story and the knowledge when the student is ready. Talk about it together at the student's pace. It will be fine. The key is loving the experience. So the short of it is that the Poodle books are to be read by the children and are to be fun. I want the children, when they finish the book, to think how much fun it was and to want to read it again. Thank you